Welcome back to We Are Already Free and this new year. I am your host, Nathan Maingard, and this podcast inspires down-to-earth seekers and free people to live their truth and be the change. Here you'll find vulnerable, powerful, and authentic conversations with epic humans who are walking their talk and leading by example. If you've noticed that fighting against what you don't want only seems to create more of it while leaving you exhausted, if you are ready to put your precious time, energy, and attention into growing a more beautiful world with the people you love, then welcome home. This podcast is for you. This episode has an earthquake in it, and no, that is not clickbait, but that comes later, and thank you to Alex for keeping going even through that. For now, welcome to Season 2 of We Are Already Free. I took a little break to relax with family, build a home with my lover Carly and our crew of amazing builders, and recharge for the coming year. I've been so excited to get the new episodes out to you, and it's also been great to take some time off. In case you didn't know, it takes around 10 hours of work per episode, so it's been really enjoyable to rest for a bit. Though saying that, I have been really looking forward because I've got 5 full power episodes already lined up for you for Season 2, with more being recorded all the time. So get ready for, as I mentioned, earthquakes, wild foods, frog medicines, kettlebell enthusiasm, the trap of enlightenment, and heaps more. Thank you for being here, dear listener. In the 6 short months since this podcast launched, we've had over 65 star ratings between Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Yes, that's 60 5-star ratings. It's phenomenal. Plus, we're about to hit 10,000 total downloads, which, in case you didn't know, is freaking amazing for a new podcast. So thank you. It's all thanks to you. It's thanks to you for listening, for sharing, for reviewing, for taking the effort to interact and to be a part of this co-creation. So yeah, thank you. It means the world. So thank you also for your patience with this slightly longer intro. I've just been so excited to share some of the loveliness with you before we get going. So on to this first episode of Season 2. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the 1,000,001 things you are supposed to be doing to be a healthy human in this diseased society of ours? Ever feel like it's all a bit overcomplicated and a bit too much? Luckily, today's guest, Alex of Breathing Cold Bali, has 3 simple tools for true liberation. And I know that sounds really basic and like, oh, woo or whatever, but honestly, I've used all of these tools. I use them regularly. You'll know that if you listen to this podcast. So I'm pretty sure that by the end of this episode, you will have learnt more about these amazing tools and how you can use them in your own life as a more direct route to wholeness. In his trainings, Alex shares the techniques he's learned over many years, which helped him personally overcome depression, self-doubt, fatigue, anxiety, and fear. After training more than 5,000 people in Ubud, he is now on a personal mission to impact others with the groundbreaking techniques that could help them to live their life at their fullest potential. Alex is passionate about inspiring people to make a positive impact in the world. He believes that if we change our relationship to ourselves, then we can step up in the world, have better relations with others and with Mother Earth. In this episode, Alex speaks about why it's important to learn that it's okay to not be okay. He shares what is authentic relating. He expresses how to stop coming from a place of need, trauma, and ego, the surprising answer to the question, what is the one thing we need to create safety? Why showing up takes a lot of courage, and how to do it anyway. Near the end, Alex shares why it's important that we go deeper into our bodies to heal the traumas that we carry, which are beyond and unavailable to our conscious memory. And as I always say, and is always true, so much more. Thank you to Alex for being such a great dude and being willing to keep going through power outages, a Bali earthquake, which you'll hear in this episode, the tech overheating, and more. There was so many technical issues, but we got through, and I think it's worth sharing because there was just so much goodness in here. I've been following Alex's page, Breathing Cold Bali, for a while now, and I've set a firm intention to attend his 21-day teacher training in Bali in 2023 so that I can deepen my own practice and be more in service to you, my dear listener, and to all of my clients, whether online or in person, groups or one-to-one. On that note, this podcast is 100% supported by you. If you'd like to access bonus conversations with guests, take the 5-day morning practice challenge, help support the production of this podcast, or even support me in getting to Bali so I can study directly with Alex, you can go to the show notes at alreadyfree.me/22. That's just the numbers 22. And you'll also find the show notes there with links to Alex and all those other wonderful things. So now please enjoy this uninterrupted, community-supported episode with Alex of Breathing Cold Bali. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I know we've been chatting about this for a while, and I've been looking forward to diving deep. I really kind of want to focus anyway, but yeah, first of all, thank you for being here. I've got a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, I must say I'm also excited. I really like the vibe of your page. I love the energy and what you put out there. So yeah, I feel resonance in just how you show up as a human. So very happy for that connection.
Thank you, brother. That's an honor. It means a lot. I certainly feel the same. I sincerely hope that I get to come and do your teacher training sometime. That's been I'm setting big intentions around that, and if the stars align, I think I would prioritize that above just about anything at this point.
Oh, thank you, and I'm very excited. I've just put a post out there. I'm changing everything, and it feels like it's almost like the first time that I'm going to do a proper facilitator training. I'm completely proud of. And the truth is, I have a lot of insecurities, like a lot of people, and the way I've realized I've been hiding my insecurities as I've filled my facilitator training with amazing facilitators, people that I consider all above me, and you have amazing osteopaths and rebirthers, and my training has always, people always says it's amazing the amount of facilitators and the quality of the facilitators that come into Alex training. And we have a wide range of breathing techniques. And I was proud that it was the signature for my course, that I was not pushing for one method, but I was allowing for people to discover what the breath has to offer and all the modalities. What I didn't realize, it was also a way for me to hide and to keep myself small, and maybe don't, I don't like the idea of having a method and everybody has their own thing. And I really don't think it's appropriate and true, because, all we do is repackage things that have been done forever. There's no one that we know that is alive in our generation that has come up with anything that is groundbreaking. It's just, no one's creating coffee or milk, but have their own version of Americano or cappuccino. And the consistent criticism I was getting in my training is they wanted more of me and less of everyone else. And they felt like I was just the facilitator, the conductor, but I was not stepping up. And after my trainings, I was asking my graduates to come and assist me in my sessions. And the feedback I got is, oh my God, Alex, I wish I had seen what you do more in your regular sessions during our facilitator training. So I took a leap of faith. I've removed like 90% of the facilitators. Anyone who was coming online anyway is out. So I will have, much more of me. And it feels really scary. And at the same time, it feels like for the first time, I will step up, and it feels really, really good, really good. Let's see what we will do with all that.
Beautiful. Well done on stepping into the discomfort of growth and expansion, which I guess is so much of what the work that you do and that I do is about, is actually learning how to be uncomfortable but for good reasons, so that we can become more resilient. Let's start with the thing I'm kind of wanting to set people up with here at the beginning is just around, these three methodologies that you really focus on, at least that I know of, and you can kind of expand on that. But I'd like people to understand, first of all, what are the challenges that these things can help them with? So we've got the breath, we've got the ice baths, and we've got this kind of relating. What do you call that final one again? The name of the...
Authentic relating. Authentic relating, in a nutshell, is, there are three levels of communication: either informational, kind of what we hear, like share knowledge, I share knowledge; personal, I'll tell you about me, you tell me about you; and then interpersonal, being with you, Nathan, I feel this is what's going on. And this is really what being human is all about. It's really about us rather than about you just being there for me and me being there for you. And true connection happens in those moments. So, it's a beautiful set of tools to help people reconnect to their true self, the ones that was there all along when they came to this world, before all the traumas and the conditioning and all the stories from your parents and your culture and the accidents of life. Who are you if you're not a man, if you're not from South Africa, if you don't have a podcast, if you're not a breathwork facilitator, if you remove it all, who are you? And I found that those tools get you raw, get you naked, get you to, remove the masks. And it's a place that is scary, but it's a place of true liberation. And when you access your true self, you're not attached anymore. You don't need to be successful. You don't need to make money. You don't need to have a specific relationship of success to be happy. And then it doesn't mean you don't go after money, love, and everything, but you do it from a place of being integrated. And that makes a whole difference on your human experience. It's incredible. And it helps heal the narrative. Should I go after money? Is money a good thing or bad thing? Is it my ego that wants to be recognized? What it is if I have all the things where, people who are into some kind of a spiritual journey feel at times a little bit uncomfortable with, feeling, and once you access that true self, those questions become completely irrelevant. You are just you're just flowing, you're just being you, you're not attached to how people perceive you anymore. You don't really, and it's amazing. It's amazing. And of course you will believe me, but everything starts to flow without having to make any effort. So people come to you, whether it's relationship or success, and it's life becomes worth living, and it's no longer a place of struggle, of pain, or fear, of all the stories that are running through our cultures and society. They all evaporate, and then you're just happy to be alive, and that's the best.
And why does it do that? I mean, why is something so simple as breathing and then getting in ice water and then telling your truth? Like, why does that have such a big impact?
Because we don't feel it's okay to be ourselves. We've been experiencing being ourselves not being okay when we were a kid. When you start screaming because you want to establish your personality, your parents most likely shut you down, saying, "Oh, you're so pretty when you smile," or "You're good, mommy loves you when you're a good boy." Okay, if you behave the way I expect you to behave, I will accept you. But when you express something that is going against my sense of belief, then I'm rejecting you. And as a small boy, you're not finished. If your mother doesn't feed you, if your father doesn't take care of you, you're going to die, unlike other animals. So we carry this wound and this longing for belonging that is more important than expressing our authenticity. And we carry that original trauma throughout our life. That's why we get drunk in college. That's why we take the jobs that give us the right salary and the right title. We marry the girl that is hot or the guy that is rich. All those things that we believe is what is expected from us in a certain context of, culture, society, and but is every time getting us a little bit more cut from our true self. It's not honoring who we truly are. And we long that, and we know that. Deep down, we know that. People who divorce after 20 years says, "Oh my God, I knew it from day one. It was not the right fit. I took that job because those reasons, but I knew it was not the right path for me. But I lost faith in my ability to stick to my dreams and carry that. And breath, ice, authentic relating are tools, are a path, not the path, but a path to get you back to that true self. And it's from that place that you will be again someone who will be integrated, that will not need others anymore, that will not come from a place of need in the world, but from a place of mastery, of being proud, of having a voice, of not playing small anymore, and not from a place of trauma that you're trying to heal, not from a place of ego that you're trying to protect, but from a place of just, hey, I'm a 6 months old baby, and I don't give a fuck, because if I want to scream in the middle of a theater, I'm going to scream in the middle of a theater, and that's who I am. Take it or leave it, but that's me. And we all are like that. We are all the same, But mommy says, shh, 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 shh. Don't cry. Don't express yourself, because this is not appropriate. And you add 20 years of that, and we are all broken, disconnected from ourselves and from each other, and sad and miserable and suicidal and depressed and looking for answers outside, looking for healing in the wrong places, thinking that once we will have these things, whatever those things are, whether it's financial success, social recognition, gratification of some kind, finally we will come to a place where we will be happy. And guess what? You're looking at the wrong places. If the problem is coming from within, you're looking outside, it doesn't work. So many people make a lot of money, and when they reach the amount that they had said they wanted, they realize, oh my God, I'm exactly at the same place. So sometimes not getting what you want might be a blessing in disguise, because at least you feel once you get there, something will be changed. And once you get there, nothing happens. Zero. Nada. So you usually, most people, they need some kind of a strong life event, a near-death experience or something, a death in their family, to realize that and to come to a place of, okay, hey, hang on a minute. What is the rat race that I'm in right now? Because I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm done with that. I don't want to live that lie anymore. I'm done. I'm done hiding. I'm done manipulating. I'm done trying to get things because it doesn't satisfy me. Not because I realize I want to be a good person. Not from all those judgments of being good, of being, all this is crap. Forget it all. It's really just about because you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice but honoring yourself. And if you don't, your body is going to let you know. It's called disease. It's called accidents. And it's all of a sudden, life come in the way to tell you, hey, you're not going in the right directions. It's like, you're on Google Map, and you take a wrong turn, and all of a sudden, and it keeps going until you realize, okay, all right, I have to turn around. Well, it's called muscular tension. It's called little accidents when you hurt your foot because you're not paying attention, etc., etc. All those things, universe sending on your way until you realize, okay, hang on a minute. What if I start listening? And that's what breathwork, ice baths, authentic relating are. It's tools to listen better, listen to yourself. And I promise you, it's not complicated. That's the best part of it. It doesn't require years of mastery. It's just a click that needs to happen and says, okay, hang on a minute. Let's actually just do that. And that's what the best about this practice is. They're called forced mindfulness. I don't care what you believe. I don't care about your opinion. Just breathe. I don't care about what you think. Just get in the ice. Shut up, get in the ice. And that's what's powerful about it. It puts your willpower, your mind, your opinions, your beliefs out of the window. Just do it. And it works. That's what's amazing. Breath works. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my experience. It's because I've worked a lot with plant medicine and I love plant medicine. I still work with plant medicine. And what I've found is that since working with breath and ice more consistently, plant medicine is much more enjoyable. Not to say that it's easier, but I'm more capable of meeting the challenges and actually being like, oh, I know how this feels like getting into an intense ice bath and just being with it. So I know how to deal with that. So it's very powerful. Just do it, basically. Yeah.
If you think that most, if not all, plant medicines are not addictive, they are not causing long-term harm, there is something that doesn't make sense in terms of prohibition. There is something that, why wouldn't you want you people to have access to things that get them on a shortcut to wholeness? Well, the good news with the breath, with the ice, we have now tools that no one can take away from us, and no one can, judge and have an opinion. And it's just, good luck stopping that. And that's what's great. Bring it to kids, bring it to prisoners, bring it to people that need it the most, and then they can change the story. There's no such thing as.
There we go. Cool, brother. So I don't even remember what we were talking about. I just know it was amazing before we got cut off. But I had a question for you, which is kind of a bit more practical because, well, they're all practical, but this is more for the inexperienced people. So one of the things I've been learning about recently is vagus nerve, sort of polyvagal theory, a little more of an understanding about that. And for some people, so for example, for people who are stuck in fight or flight, so in sympathetic activation, or who have serious anxiety, or who are stuck in maybe dorsal activation where they're, just given up, depression, etc., I guess the question I'm having is it possible that for some people breath work and ice baths could dysregulate their nervous systems further? And if so, how do we tell if that's the case? And if not, just talk a little bit about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I will give you my take. I'm not sure I have some kind of complete enough answer, and my knowledge is also limited. So I'll speak to to the extent of my ignorance. I like to say on that. I feel and understand that for me, the only thing that matters in order to create safety is connection. And so with that in mind, I allow sometimes people to breathe in a way that can be seen as like super ventilate. They would be over breathing, as long as, I really explain everything at the beginning. So I let people go where they want. I'm not pushing anyone to do anything they don't want, but I understand that, for me, it's all about reclaiming your nervous system. So it's not so much about keeping it safe and playing it safe all the time, but more welcoming whatever comes. So if someone has a beginning of a panic attack as a result of overstimulating their vagus nerve and over breathing, and come to a place where all of a sudden there is a loss of control and there is a potentially a risk of recreating trauma, or things that we try to always avoid as breathwork facilitators, with the idea of healing slowly and always playing it safe. I find that by explaining all these concepts beforehand, and then being very present with the people who breathe, and being helping them come back through, can you make eye contact with me? Can you reconnect to your smell? Can you connect to your senses in different ways? And allowing them to feel that, okay, maybe I went too far, but I did it in a way that was almost self-triggered. Unlike all the traumas that are coming upon you and you have zero control, there you are told that this could happen. And maybe in 5 minutes, you're going to have a panic attack. There are not many ways for us to experience that, like and you are self-inflicting it with your own breath or getting into an ice bath. And the awareness and the understanding of those concepts, paired with strong connection for self-regulation and co-regulation, allow people to maybe edge a little bit, maybe go that outside what they were completely comfortable to handle. But if you can hold that space for them, I find that those moments of discomfort could be extreme breakthrough. So in that sense, I'm not always playing super, like I played safe, but my definition of safety might be different from others who will really go into really honoring where the nervous system state is and not pushing it beyond. I really have more of an approach where I welcome everything. I empower you with the knowledge of what's going on. And then, I don't know you, but I'm going to be riding whatever is going to come with you. And if they trust me and we have that sense of connection, I can bring on the show some people that, first time they were in a session with me, just hated my guts for what had happened to them. But fast forward 6 months, have resolved their childhood traumas, or like instead, not completely resolved, but at least they have, a sense of empowerment of, okay, I don't have to hide. I don't have to stay away from the thing that had happened. I can actually have some kind of exposure therapy where I get closer to not feeling safe. But the difference is it's a conscious action. It's a conscious experience of, hey, I'm not going to be safe in 2 minutes when I get into a 0-degree ice bath. Or maybe I'm going to stay a bit longer in the ice bath, and I'm not going to play it always safe in the ice bath. And I'm going to see what happens when I come out of the ice bath. And maybe I'm going to be shivering more than I feel completely safe with. And I see what happens. There is something powerful about not feeling okay and learning that it's okay not to be okay, but really in an embodied way. So yeah, it's a little bit edgy. It's a little bit something that could get a lot of comments and criticism, honestly. But so far, I never had anyone with problems. The only people I have problem with is people who don't want to be there. They joined because they got it for free, paid by a friend. They're joining because they want to please their partners who told them it's good for them. Then usually we have a problem. But if you willingly know what I'm doing and you come to it, it means you're ready for the ride, and you can and you go with it. And I mean, so far I had amazing results. But for me, it's really not so much about putting responsibility on myself for what I do and saying, okay, it's my responsibility to. I really just explain a lot, and then I explain how you can breathe through the nose, you can breathe through the mouth, you can increase the breathing, you can slow it down, so that people after that, they go as far as they feel they're comfortable going, and that for me creates safety, and sometimes it means they are edging a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. That resonates a lot with how I've been approaching it in general, and there's a lot of intuition as well. I think this speaks to the necessity for finding trustworthy guides, facilitators, because there's some people are just saying things like, oh no, just go in and just go full power, like breathe harder, push, like that's what you need to do. I think to me, those are the situations where someone has more likelihood of getting themselves into trouble if they have a dysregulated nervous system. Whereas I use the same words. I say like, this is how the breathing works. This is what the pattern is. This is what's happening. So if you want to, you can speed it up. If you want to, you can slow it down. This is, and always the recommendation is find where your edge is and play with the edge and find out how far are you feeling okay to go today. And that's always a choice. So I think, like you said, it's like when people were traumatized, that's the one thing none of us were given when we experienced trauma was choice.
100%. And there, I'll bring a concept that for most therapists will feel completely unethical, but I allow myself to be connected, allow myself to be touched. I don't I talk about myself. I share my story, and that creates safety for me, in my experience, where people see, okay, now I know this guy, I know his stories, and my stories are not hero stories, and 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 the fact that I can share that with them allow them to feel, okay, now I can feel a bit safer. I use also movement and dance and those tools of authentic relating and different tools that get people to feel safe with me, safe with each other, and safe within themselves. And from that place of finding safety within and around, we can go and we can resolve a lot, because that's what people are longing. And so what I love about this is it's a playground for exploration and for doing things differently. If you always do the same thing the way they've been done before, you get the same results. And honestly, look at the state of the world, look at the state of our prisons, of our education. I think it's, as long as you're being honest and transparent and you feel you're in integrity and you're not manipulating, I think there is room for expansion and exploring and thinking outside the box and doing things differently and not doing things according to how they're supposed to be done. And in my experience, it's been absolutely transformational. And so, yeah.
Lovely. Do you have any recommendations? So if someone's listening to this and they're thinking, wow, that sounds amazing, I don't know, where should I start with something like this? What can I do today? What's the next thing I should do? Do you have any recommendations there?
Wow. I think a facilitator is very important. I think finding someone you feel safe with is great. I think if you can go for a long training, that's better, because you can go deep with someone. So it's not like you heal traumas in 4 hours. I think going on I put a 3 weeks training for a reason, because we need space and we need time and we co-regulate. And so I think finding someone you can feel safe to breathe with is very important. I prefer to work in groups than in one-on-one. I find that community is what we long for, and opening and feeling safe with strangers and in the context of a container is way more powerful than just relying on another human, like whether it's a doctor, a healer, or a breathwork facilitator. It's not about trusting that person, but it's about feeling safe with random people. And I've had people share that they are into child pornography with moms. I had rapists talking to survivors of rapes. And these spaces where people can, share authentically what's going on and honoring that we are humans. And it's part of the human experience to have sometimes some desires that are not appropriate, that are some actions that are results of our childhood traumas, and a space where you can be yourself without being judged, without being criticized, where when you can just share, it's immensely healing. But these spaces don't exist, this in our societies. There is no space for people who abuse women to speak up without being, ostracized by the group. And as a result, there is just people misbehaving in secret and in hiding. And then the only alternative is to wait till we figure them out and then end them. And that's not sustainable, and it doesn't work. So those healing spaces are very important. So I think I would say, find someone you feel safe with, and a group if you can, rather than just one-on-one. You can do things by yourself. There's tons of content. I've recorded tons of breathing techniques, and you can follow along. Nothing replaces an in-person experience, especially when it comes to healing traumas. It's hard to replace that experience, but it's worth it. And the investment is mainly in time. Those trainings are usually not very expensive. but it's the time, the commitments. But people are, if I say, hey, 3 weeks and you're going to make money, I feel it like that. If I say, hey, you're going to be successful with women in 2 weeks, okay, I can increase my prices. But if I say you're going to reconnect with yourself, you're going to heal trauma, it's not so interesting. So people, there is a fear and anxiety about actually accessing. What if everything I believe about the world was completely wrong? What if the whole story I've been telling myself about myself was actually just a story, and I would have to let go of those stories? Everything I believe. That's a scary place, and your mind will just tell you not to go there. And so that's why it's not easy. And I have about 30% of people who sign up and they don't show up. And I never get paid in advance. I get paid the day of the workshops because I really want people to be there because they want to be there. Not because they feel they're stuck because they paid, but they have an excuse, and most of them the night before or the morning. And that's it. It requires a lot of courage to just show up, to just sit with yourself, be with yourself. We don't want to be with ourselves. We want to be distracted. Meditation is super hard. You have to do nothing. It's so hard for most people, and for myself too. And that's one thing in my training. And that's also one thing needs to change, is for the facilitators and the teachers to stop putting themselves above the students, because that's a fake narrative that is running around as, oh, one day you'll be like me, and that's your hope in life. You'll be as strong, you'll be as fit, you'll be as successful, and that's a big fat lie. And if people could be just honest and vulnerable and share that, the human experience is just amazing, and that's the diversity of the emotion that we go through that is worth living. But it doesn't mean you're getting somewhere. You're not going to achieve something. You're not going to become anything. You're not going. Once you can let go of that, then we have a place of just simplicity and authenticity. And I think it's one thing that now I do quite well, and it's just being myself and not pretending anymore. And it's not a place that is easy, because it means people don't necessarily see me as an authority. They can disrespect me. It's like it's not a place that is easy to hold. It's I have 20 people and I don't position myself above. It makes it a little bit hard at times to hold that space, because they can allow themselves to criticize me and reject me and all these things. So it is very challenging for me as well as a facilitator of those trainings. But I don't think there is an option. I think that's how we heal, and I get so much from it. I've shared with you in a previous call. I get to the next level of myself every time. But man, it's a ride. It's a ride, because I hear tons of I show up. So of course I show myself, and I'm human. So I say stupid things. I think things that are not right and that are not appropriate. And at the same time, you can tell me, Alex, that's bullshit, and I disagree with you, and I don't like what you say, and you know that you can say it. So you do. But it makes it for other people not necessarily safe, that they're used to, what is safety is like, okay, that is in charge. I can just step back and I just let someone I'm not going to be in charge. My father is in charge. My parents are in charge. I have no self-authority. I can just follow what my parents are telling me, and then I'll be safe. This is kind of replace parents by government, by boss. And it's really good when you have someone with a strong authority that you can just surrender to. But I don't think is the way to liberation. I think going on the roller coaster is, for me, is the only way. And it's really amazing, and it's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, there's something about that modeling. I suppose like you're the guy on the roller coaster who's done it enough times that you're like, it's cool. We're going through a massive loop-de-loop and I'm still pretty relaxed. And then other people on their first time on the roller coaster are like, oh, well, if he's so relaxed, I guess I could also, maybe I want to see if I can get that relaxed.
Yeah. And again, it's because I share my challenges, how I manipulated women to have sex with them, how I had premature ejaculation issues, things that are really taboo in our society, where there is no space where you can share these things without, feeling that the image that you put out is going to be, challenged. But I do it with the intention of tapping into the mirroring brain of the people around me. And they see that, oh, okay, well, I can, if he share these things, maybe I can share some of the stuff that I really don't want anyone to know. And when they realize that no one's judging, because no one cares, we're only taking care of ourselves. And when people realize that, wow, it's really life-changing. It's very life-changing. And again, it's very simple principles, but they're not easy to apply in everyday life. It means, who am I if I don't? I'm a parent, but can I show up without being an authority to my kids? And can I allow them to challenge me to the extreme? And it's not. It's very easy to step into your power and your authority because you're entitled as a adult to have an authority over a child because it's yours, and you can apply that to your employees and to your subjects. Yeah, but I think it comes down to seeing where the world is going, how it's just not working. That's not even a question. Nothing is working. Healthcare is not healthcare; it's disease care. Education is useless. Prisons is broken. There's more violence and disconnection. People are sad and depressed and suicidal more and more. And we're just keep doing the same thing over and over with the same results. Most people get divorced, relationships don't last, etc., etc. There's nothing works in the way we operate in society. So it calls for radical change in just the operating system. So yeah, no option for me.
Exactly. I love what you said earlier about how, that things like plant medicines, psychedelic medicines were made illegal, but because they are actually wholeness medicines, what they do is they return people to wholeness, but they can't make breath work illegal. They can't make, this consciousness that wants to keep its identity running, the identity of separation and of control and power and really scarcity, because the consciousness believes that it is never enough. And so it has to keep controlling and taking and taking and taking. And that consciousness is going to find it very hard to stop ice baths and breath work and conscious relating, because if at that point if that energy says, well, now this is illegal, then we'll see, then the whole script will flip, because that's at the point where people go, oh, this consciousness is specifically designed to keep me from actually being whole.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Amen. It's funny. I looked that word up recently because I was wondering just what's the root of the word amen, because, it comes through religion, which I generally have had a bit of a tough relationship with. I mean, I see the truth in all religions, and then I see how all religions, or most religions, then become all about, well, if you don't say my name for the divine, then you're going to some horrible place, or I'll kill you, or whatever the story was. And the root of the word amen, the etymology is simply truth. The original meaning of the word amen is truth. And how I could so imagine someone, like someone saying something and people going, truth, like, thank you for speaking truth. So I think now I love whenever I'm saying amen a lot more. So it's nice to hear you say it. Rad, man. So how, if you can kind of like summarize, and I know this is a complicated, big topic, but how do breath work, ice baths, and authentic relating sort of interact with each other? Like, how do they fit? Why do they fit well together, basically?
So for me, they're just tools. And I think that's also what sets me apart from other breathwork facilitators, is like, for me, the hero is not the breath. It's really the humans that are there. And breath is just a tool. Ice is just a tool. Authentic relating is just a tool. So movement. And it's really about all of them are ways for people to get out of their head and in their bodies. The head, the brain is there to keep people safe, but your true self is in your body. So how do I get you out of your head and in your body? All those tools just do that. And combine, they are kind of a recipe, a program that gets you to return to wholeness. So we start with movement because there is nothing more challenging than being vulnerable and ridiculous in front of another human. And that's why, usually we need to wait 2 a.m. and be completely drunk before we let loose, but it feels so good. And all of a sudden we allow ourselves to be seen. So I start with that, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. We start with being ridiculous in front of each other because that's a way to get safe with each other. And then I get people to share and connect in an authentic way with each other. And then I explain the science behind what we do with the breath and the eyes, because I meet people where they are and people are in their heads. So I really get them to understand the concepts. I get them to actually have an understanding. And when they understand, they trust me more. They feel, okay, whatever they were thinking before, once they spend enough time with me and they realize I know my shit on those topics and I can speak the science, and then I just do that because this is the language of the gurus of our generation, of our culture. There's the people who understand the science, the doctors, the people who can explain things. All of a sudden we consider them as authorities, and then we follow them. So I take those codes and I just share and explain what is going on inside the body so that people can just let go of their resistance. That's my only goal with explaining it. It's okay, I didn't really completely remember it all, but it seems like it makes sense. All right, now I can stop trying to block it, and then I can allow the breath to work. And all of a sudden, tensions, muscular tensions, and the emotional traumas and tensions that were held underneath these physical tensions get to be released. So people have breakthroughs. And from that place of feeling vulnerable and tender, without any interruption, we go in the ice bath. And the ice bath is very confronting. It's really, you complete the cycle of trauma getting into the ice bath. You don't want to do it. You want to run away. You get in, you fight, you want to run away. Then you freeze. You cannot even move. You get out. You have a release. You have a shake. So having all that creates. Are you still there with me? Yeah.
I'm having a fun time with internet today.
Yeah, it's been a challenging interview.
It has, man. This is the most challenging one I've had actually in terms of just internet connectivity. Wow. But we're doing.
No, I was using my phone as internet provider, and it overheat for the first time in its life of this expensive phone. It was overheating. I mean, literally, I never had my phone overheat. And when it overheats, it just shut down, including the live Instagram. So no one's people will have to wait for this interview to hear all that. And somehow internet is working again. I have no idea why and how. So
oh, that's funny. So the last thing you were talking about was the experience of going the breath, connecting in, processing, releasing, and then going straight into the ice bath from there and facing fight or flight, freeze, the trauma, but doing it by choice. And then that was kind of.
So when you are combining practices where people get to be out of their head and in their bodies, and then allow from that place of being centered and not in the head to breathe, they kind of open space. And that's all the body wants, is space to things to come back into flow. And then they have some kind of a clarity or release or understanding of what's going on. And from that place, then they go into the ice bath, where they get to access things they've been suppressing. And that's, again, what I love about these tools is that the idea of forced mindfulness, it just comes out. And this is something that is worth mentioning. We are not conscious of our traumas. We're conscious of only some of them. Most of them happen before the mind is completely operating, So it can be the trauma of the birth, early childhood trauma, the trauma of your ancestors, generational, you're from South Africa, of course you are carrying the trauma of apartheid, which is just recent, so it cannot be just things that happen to you and you can remember. That's way limiting. And that's why talk therapy is just not good enough. It's part of the solution, but it's not enough. And it's also, again, going into the mind, but going through the body and having this somatic approach to healing is what is amazing about what we do. So after having this really release of, and then you have what was great about the ice, you also have like a physical reduction of inflammation, of muscular tensions, it's literally physically remove the tension. So all of a sudden you get to access, what is that tension? What was it covering? So things get liberated in the body. And from that place where people are no longer carrying the mask, you get into an ice bath. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have in your bank account. That's, you're in your fucking swimsuit in an ice bath. Your status disappears. There is something absolutely magical about going in the ice, which is, we're all the same, in that state. And after that, having a lot of time and a big space and a safe space where we can finally connect. From that place of true self, connect with each other. And just people open up and normalize the stories. And that's a big part of the healing process. Again, to the extent of my ignorance, is just talk about it. Talk about it as if it's a normal topic, not as, oh my God, let's add shame and guilt on what happened to you. But if instead of that, I'm just going to be like a kid who's just asking questions without judging, just following his curiosity. Why do you have this tattoo on your face? What's that about? And all of a sudden, we can name the obvious and name things that, we want. If I'm curious about it, if I feel I want to know about it, trust me, you want to talk about it. And it's super healing, man. Just the space. And that's what makes these journeys special, is that it's really not about us. We're just facilitators. We're just holding that space and just offering tools. But there is nothing special about me as a facilitator. And it's just me as a human coming with my innocence and my curiosity and just being there to go on the ride. And that's been, very transformational.
Yeah, there's an interesting line there because I agree, I'm not doing anything. I'm not the one healing someone. I think that someone was talking about that recently on when you sometimes meeting someone and they say, I want to become a healer, I want to heal people. It's like, well, that's the first lesson. It's like the only thing you can do is heal yourself and actually just continue to expand your capacity for discomfort and for safety and for meeting all the parts of yourself, including the ugliest, most horrific. So, because then that's the holistic experience as well. As deep the roots, so high the tree. And at the same time, like, I guess what I'm bringing this up for is like, I think that you, based on what you're saying, you are a specific kind of facilitator, and that it is important for someone listening to make sure that the facilitator they choose is not someone who says, I'm going to heal you, or says like, if you just follow my way, that's, everything will get better and you'll have the life I have and you'll be completely healed and you'll be enlightened. And like those kind of stories are this dehumanizing sense of, and also disempowering, because then it's all about the guru or the teacher or the facilitator. When to me, and I actually thought about this a lot because of everything that's happened over the last few years with lockdowns and everyone has to wear a mask and everyone has to get an injection, otherwise you're a bad person, and all those storylines. And I was like, how do I tell what the truth is? Like, how do I work out what is truth? And this isn't the only way, but it's a way that's been very helpful for me when I thought of it was, to me, the truth is anything that points back at me and at everyone else. And so if I look at something and it's saying, Nathan, you're it. Like, if you want to heal, if you want to be powerful, if you want to live a life that has meaning and purpose, you are the one. It's inside of you, and all that.
Nathan, we have an earthquake.
What?
Big one, a big one. You can only if you see anything shaking around me.
I see shaking. Yeah. Dude, what the hell? This is the. Are you okay there?
It's like a big. Yeah, it's one of the. Like I'm interrupting you because I might have to run, but yeah, it seems like it's okay. But man, I have no idea what's going on in this interview, but I promise you, none of it is staged or fake. But yeah, it was really scary. Yeah. Well,
do you want to just call this? Are you sure you don't want to head off and like just go check? Make sure everything's okay.
You know, we're disregarding all the signs, definitely, in this interview.
Yeah,
the universe is saying, "Stop that interview." You know what's going to happen. You know, and you know what? Just me saying it, I'm also very curious to see maybe what is going to come out of this interview that I'm not seeing there. You know, why is that a bad idea to do this interview? Something is saying this should not happen. And I'm at the same time, of course, we're doing it, and I'm curious to see what will happen, what it is. Because come on, it's a fifth or sixth like major interruption that has come. So I don't know. Just putting it out there. Let's see what comes out of it. But
yeah, man. I mean, it could also be because one of the things I've also noticed about life is that, and this is a sensitivity that's required, and I get it wrong a lot of the time, but sometimes the challenges are there because the fruit on the other side of the challenge is so juicy that you just have to, sometimes it's like everything seems to be going wrong because the universe is like, are you sure you want this? Like, I'm just going to make really sure. Like, we've literally had an earthquake today to ask us, are you sure you want this? Or it's like, this is the worst conversation that's ever happened. You guys should stop immediately. Here's an earthquake.
I prefer your story. I'll stick to your story. That's a better one. Let's choose this one. Yeah.
That is so funny.
Thanks for interrupting.
No, dude, you just sat through an earthquake. I think if there's ever a reason.
I had to. Yeah.
Anyway, so the point of that piece was that truth is things that, like my friend said it to me once, there's like the sage or the teacher points at the divine, points the way to the divine, and then people bow down and they worship the finger that is pointing instead of where it's pointing, or like going to where it's pointing. So it's the same to be a facilitator, to be a healer, which is really the healing isn't external, but to be someone who holds space for healing, there is a certain, I see more and more how many people are calling themselves healers and facilitators and teachers when they themselves haven't really gone to those places in themselves. And therefore, when they create a space, there's a lot more risk involved for the people who step into that space.
Yeah, 100%. But you know what? We are animals. So it's just for people to just connect to themselves and just feel, just feel it. It's obvious. You see through the marketing and the manipulation and the ego. It's just for people to just not let themselves be manipulated again and again, not go for the shiny little marketing ads and false promises, because there's no quick fix.
No, and I guess over time, that's part of what happens is we develop discernment, looking at, well, I did trust that person, and then this is how it turned out. So maybe let me go deeper into myself. Is that earthquake happening again? Oh my gosh, dude. I think we should actually call this one at this point. Like, we've shared good information. You need to go make sure that you're safe.
I mean, there's nothing I would do differently now. It's just, I have one foot ready to run, but that's it. All I can do is run outside in the garden if it becomes too intense, and then we'll keep the camera rolling. Maybe you'll have really cool images of books flying and windows being exploding. Dude. But for now, it's okay. I mean, it's Bali. Bali's and Indonesia is famous for earthquakes, but yeah.
Yeah, man. Intense. Bloody hell. It's my first ever podcast earthquake.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I only actually have one more question to ask you, and you can kind of take your time to just feel into this. It's really intuitive. There's obviously no right or wrong answer, but the question is, when you hear the words, "we are already free," what comes up for you?
Yeah, it resonates a lot because someone says a smart person learns something new every day. A wise person unlearns something new every day. And for me, that journey to self is really about, can I clear all the false self? Can I identify all the parts in me that have been supporting my growth, but most of them just being there to protect me from feeling too much to the feelings that maybe would have been overwhelming and not allowing me to function in society. So that's why fear is there, and resentment, and maybe some disease in the bodies. So I think allowing ourselves to just witness those different parts and then thanking them and maybe giving them a little bit less space in our bodies and, quieting them down, allow that true self to come out. And that true self is free, and it's all it wants is just to be heard. And that's 6 months little boy that just wants to be heard, that wants to be laughing, just wants to be seen and cared, and that's it. That freedom is there behind the mess, behind the masks, behind the protections. It's beautiful, and it's really accessible to absolutely every human. And an example, and maybe will hit home for a lot of people. Until recently, people who were winning the lottery, they were not getting any psychological support. So until recently, something crazy like 90% of people who would win the lottery would lose it within 1 year after winning. And what they would always say is, oh my God, I'm much happier now because I'm back to being myself. So, it's a bit of a metaphor for everything else. It's like I give you something that is not you. You just carry it, but it's not you. So it's something heavy, and it's not gonna make you happy. But imagine if you have that metaphor of being a little person that goes through some traumas. Okay, now I'm gonna be ashamed, and I'm not want to tell anyone, and I have guilt. I'm not being present for my parents, and I'm carrying and I'm projecting, and all I need is to get rid of these masks that I've been taking, and because they were useful for me at one point of my life, to really come back to, wow, that's who I am. And I remember that person. That was me when I was happy and free and running around and not caring, and I can be me again. So yeah, fully resonate with that, and I in many ways I embody that. It's a beautiful journey for myself, and I really enjoy that, of seeing things in my bodies, like I had manifestation in the bodies that disappeared, pains that disappeared. The more authentic and honest and less manipulative I've become, and then letting go of the image that I'm project and all the things. And at the same time, with a lot of compassion for the little boy who didn't know any better, who had to do all that, So it's not so much judging who I was just 6 months ago, but appreciating that, hey, I was like that for a reason. And not being too harsh on myself for having done what I've done, because I did my best with what I had, There is not a bully that is not being bullied at home. There is not anyone in a prison that doesn't have a shit childhood, comes from poverty and difficulty and isolation and broken families. So everything we do comes from trying to develop some coping mechanism to handle life in the best way possible. And that's it.
Well, thank you again, Alex. I mean, it's been so enjoyable having you on. Also, because for me, the breath work and the ice baths has been so, and I don't know about authentic relation, but certainly conscious relating has been something I've been working on a lot for years. And I'm sure it shares some crossover. And I just find that it's like what you said earlier. You said something about, what was it? It was a shortcut to wholeness. And my mom actually said to me years ago when I was talking about plant medicine, she said, you can't shortcut healing. And I said, yeah, that's true. You can't, but you can take a more direct route. And I think for many people, they are taking very long, confusing, painful routes to their healing. And there are some very beautiful direct routes to wholeness. And for me, absolutely, breathwork, ice baths, and conscious relating, which I assume there's a lot of similarity. Those are direct routes. Those are like this. I want wholeness, and I'm ready for wholeness. Like, let's do it.
You mentioned truth before. I believe that everything we believe is just a story. Your mommy is telling a story. Whether you believe that story, that healing takes time, okay, you buy into a story that she believes, and that's it. And because some authorities and process, and then we believe that is the way to go. But there's no such thing as the truth with these things. It's really just our beliefs and how strong we attach to our beliefs around that. And that's why we really need to have a very childlike approach to all of it. I don't know. Maybe it is quick. Maybe you can heal quickly. The truth is, I don't know. And I'm playing with it and exploring with it without being attached to any principle or any authority and any story that was said. And that's it. Everybody says the ice makes you, don't go out, wear your gloves and your hat, you're going to get sick in the cold, okay. And many people think they're going to get a cold if they take an ice bath still, because that's the strong belief that they've had. And I had doctors refuse to do it because they believe you can have a heart attack getting into the ice bath, and they think we're criminals getting people in an ice bath. It's, And it will happen if you believe that story. It could happen. So, yeah, I think it's time to just not take on too many stories. The COVID is a good one, Who knows? It's just people coming one after the other saying, oh, I know better, and I have a good idea of what was going on. And we realize more and more that actually we don't know. Can we be that state where actually we don't know and not needing to have the truth? But just okay. And maybe you believed something, and then most of us, we believed one thing, and then we got different information, and we believed something else, and then maybe we changed a few times along the way. That's a good metaphor for how we should take on everything. If you change your opinion on COVID, maybe you should change your opinion on politics and religion and whatever story you take on, including these stories. So yeah.
I suppose the question, one of the questions I enjoy about that is this story serving me in being the person I want to be? Like, is this helping me to live a life that I want to live? Because if it's not, then that's probably a story that's worth changing.
Amen. Yeah, 100%.
Amen. Cool, brother. Well, thanks again. And please let the listener know where they can find you, looking you up further, connecting with your beautiful work, which I recommend they do. What are some good places?
So my focus is a 3 weeks journey that is facilitator training and transformational journey at the same time. And I do it every 4 months. It's breathingcoldbali.com. I have a WhatsApp group where I share a little bit, and Telegram groups where I share things that, would be not really welcome on social media. Of course, on Instagram and Facebook, Breathing Cold Bali. So yeah, that's a good a good place to start. I have other social media channels, but I have no idea how they work, TikTok and Snapchat and all that things to impress my kids. But yeah, go to my website, Breathing Cold Bali, and in my social media, Instagram. That's a good place.
Great.
Thanks
you again. Thanks, Alex. What a blessing. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you. See you, brother.
Thank you again to Alex of Breathing Cold Bali. What do you think? Was the juicy fruit worth the effort, dear listener? I've never had such a challenging episode, and for some reason, I've had episodes that were really challenging that we just chose not to do at that time, but for some reason, it just felt like this was the right time to get this one recorded. So I hope that you have felt the value and the effort and the energy in that. You can find more about Alex's work, where to find him, how to support this podcast, access bonus episodes, comment on the episode itself, leave a review, and all the things at alreadyfree.me/22. That's just the numbers 22. If you take one action after this episode, I would be so curious to hear what it will be, what it is. So often I've noticed that we jump from consuming to consuming this piece of content to that piece of content without really pausing to take a moment to absorb, reflect, integrate, and take action. Please do reach out to let me know how this episode worked for you, whether or not it inspired you. What were your thoughts? What did it bring up for you? Or do you disagree with anything in it? I'd love to hear. You can comment or find ways to send me a message directly at alreadyfree.me/22. And that is also where you'll find links to all of the stuff around Alex, etc., as I mentioned. So that's really the end of this first episode back for 2023. Someone sent me a message a few days ago saying, I heard the podcast had stopped. And I was like, no, it's not stopped. We're just taking a break and we are back full power every Thursday, at least Thursday in South Africa every week. And yeah, as I said, I've got really good guests lined up. Just an honor to be here with you. So once again, if you are feeling anything about this podcast, please take a moment before you do or even set a reminder if you're driving now or something, but just take a moment to go to alreadyfree.me/22 and check it out. See what's there. Comment on it. Leave me a message. Support the podcast. Help me get to Bali to study with Alex. That'd be freaking awesome. And either way, just thank you for being a listener of the podcast. More than anything, I hope that this has been something of value to you, that it has opened your heart and reminded you of your own power, your own sovereignty, and mainly that we are already free. I'll see you next week. Thanks for being here.